What is up, everybody, and welcome to another Passion Traveler video. Today I wanted to kind of express things that I realized this week that are kind of black pill. One thing I've learned is to overcome this black pill. I just accepted reality, and I move on. One thing that I had to really adapt and learn is pretty much I use this phrase a lot because it has a lot of meaning. Well, no, to me it does. Yeah, if you guys are familiar with George, I think his name was George Carlin. Rest in peace, a famous comedian. One of my favorite comedians on the list, and he was mentioning about like why sometimes we're not going to really be on top, or we're never going to get the life that we deserve, or we're not going to get the best of life because people on top don't really get it. You know, only the 1% has control. And he was saying, you know, you got to be happy with what you got because, you know, we're not part of the club. So throughout time, I've noticed I was never part of any club. I technically had to adapt to this particular life that I don't know if by psychogenetics I inherited, because, you know, it's the typical town that I live in that everybody is just pretty much stuck to their particular pre-designed life, if I can describe it in this particular matter. So what I'm trying to get to is a couple things that I realized. So basically a little bit of passion traveler. Even before getting out of the religion, I always dream of moving out of this state of Indiana. I was never happy ever since we arrived here. Even if I was I think I was incredibly young, probably 3 or 4 years old when we moved to this state. Like, I'm from Texas and we went to Chicago. And the best things that I remember is, you know, I think Chicago was one of my favorite cities of all time. Even when we lived there, I remember, like, I was astonished by the buildings. A lot of things fascinated me about that particular city. I understand a lot of people dislike the city. It does have a bad reputation. That's if you avoid certain areas. Indiana, I don't know. What is it about this particular state? It's part of the Midwest, if you think about it, and everybody's very comfortable here. Everybody doesn't really want to leave. So I used to believe it was comfort zone, but I started to really I digested a lot of thinking today, or not just today, but this entire week, and I began to realize a lot of things that probably we're not going to get the life that we want because we're not on top. We don't have that possibilities. It doesn't even matter anymore if you have a profession on your list, because it comes down that it just depends on your luck. I don't know if that makes any sense. So first of all, the first Blackpill came when I started scrolling through Facebook, and I was tagged into the reunion of my graduation year. So basically people that graduated in the same year, in the same high school, and they organized an event where they reunite. And, you know, obviously, you know how it goes. I just don't really go because I don't have anything interesting to say, and I just rather not. Like I said, I don't participate, or I don't belong in certain clubs. I'm not intimidated by individuals anymore because honestly, we're not so different. Yeah, like I might have a subhuman job and the other one might have a particular fancier job or a cleaner job, whatever you want to call it. But we're both slaves to the system. So as me and them, one thing I realized, we all have this particular stress. We don't live the lives that we both dreamed of in different perspectives. One, I'm always working. I don't have a lot of free time anymore. I don't have a lifestyle that I'm satisfied. I'm always wishing what I could have, but I can't necessarily get it. Yes, I'm working hard for it. Yes, I'm doing everything that I can. But I don't know if this is like where I have to really get used to, because it seems like it's unachievable at times. Like I mentioned, like an example, I did dream someday living in Miami, because obviously I never saw myself out of the United States before I started traveling. I always dreamed having like this, you know, not because I wanted to party, not because I never really did it because I wanted to see the women. I'm not saying that I don't like women, don't get me wrong. It's just I've always been very attracted to the beach, and I wanted like an apartment, enjoy like the hot sun, be in the beach, do a lot of activities. I enjoy the beach a lot. That's something that is considered one of my favorite pastimes of all time. But it never came through. After I graduated high school, I didn't go directly to university. That was like a year after, and I went to college. But comparison with me and them, when I look through their pictures, because I got to see a lot of the kids that I used to go to high school, it's like you only peak, and if you don't enjoy, then you're pretty much screwed. So basically, I'm going to start with them. So I scrolled down and I noticed a few individuals that I recognized, and I'm like, holy cow, like some of these guys were very positive, very optimistic. They were leaders. They were, actually they were performing well in everything that involved in athleticism, and their academics. They also were pretty much talented. They had, they actually put in the effort into work. They had the lifestyle that I always dreamed of when I was in high school. I couldn't really look forward to. Like, I'm not saying that that's why I didn't have good grades. Don't get me wrong. I have a lot involved with that. Like, I understand that religion didn't force me not to have good grades. It's just a lot of my inspirations was killing, but it's not their fault. It's my fault. I allowed the religion to control me, and that's something I have to live forever. Live with. I'm sorry. Sorry, guys. I'm a little bit tired. But anyway, these guys, like I said, they were performing well. They had good grades. They were on top. They were leaders. They were optimistic as much as they can be. And they were performing well. Some of these guys were actually very good athletes. And I'm not sure if they ever went to a good college or university. I'm not 100% sure, because after I graduated, I kind of lost contact with everybody until like 2 years after I reconnected with one of my high school friends. That was the only friend that I was able to have. Other than that, I don't know too much about others. And so now that I look at their pictures, and there's something that really got me, like something just got my attention. When you recognize, I don't forget faces. These guys had a spark. There's three guys that I'm talking about. They had a spark. They had that enthusiasm smile. You can tell when someone's happy, satisfied. It's a real smile, and they have that spark. Now they don't have it anymore. They have lost that spark, and now they deteriorated a lot quicker. They aged a little bit more. I kind of feel bad for some of these guys. They lost their hair, so that's like a brutal black pill that we're already aware of. That's something that you can never avoid. But even still, they have something that I probably would never have, which, it's okay. I don't care anymore. So the only thing that they have that I don't have is basically a family. I don't have kids. I don't have a wife. All these guys, a lot of them married. But now that I realize something, they're not even happy. It's like they probably did all of these things believing this was true happiness, and it's not even real. Because obviously we're all like, maybe because I have a different intake. I'm not religious anymore. I don't buy that, marriage/family, because obviously nothing is forever. Everything's temporary. Even the Tradwites are starting to expose themselves. They already acknowledge that that's not the life that they wanted to. But anyway, so these guys, like I said, they age a little bit quicker. They lost their hair. I'm not judging them because I want to judge them. I'm just noticing the patterns. I'm noticing things that I used to remember about them, and I'm like, what happened to them? Like, what's causing them not to have that spark anymore? They're not fulfilled. You can say it's just stress, passion, traveler. Everybody grows up. Everybody is living the real life. I get that. Trust me, I do. It's not like I've been a bum all the time. Like, I've never been a bum. I always worked. I always had that struggle with, trying to make sure I have enough money. So recently, I started to really go through their social media, which, they were kind of sharing their social media in case you wanted to reconnect with your fellow high school peers, whatever. And one is another. So the Blackpill reality is, okay, one is these guys were considered the top IQs at the time. None of them were able to move out of the state or move out of the Midwest. Like, you could say it's comfort zone, but here's the thing though. everybody hated this town. Nobody liked it. Everybody dreamed of moving out of here because it has nothing to really look forward to. It's not. It's a city. It's just a very small town. Um, Basically, it's like a monopoly economy. Pretty much you're dependent on how the industry goes. If the industry has a very bad year, it takes the whole town with them. But not the smartest ones were not able to get out of here. And I started to realize a pattern. What if like the education system is not as good as the other parts of the city, which I'll get to that in a minute. What I came with this conclusion, with this, hypothesis or theory, whatever you want to call it. And I don't know if I said it right. Some, you know. But anyway, so pretty much my theory is they were not able to leave. So that kind of like started to kill my hopes that I'm probably not going to be able to do the same. I'm going to probably be in the same position. I'm not going to be able to leave the Midwest. Even if I tried extremely hard, it's kind of difficult. And these are like the type IQs that have a profession, they have a prestigious jobs. Second of all, nobody can break the system because like I have a subhuman job. They might have a more fancier or more of a respectable job, what is considered respectable for society. And maybe we can be making the same amount of money, but we're not out of the system. A lot of them seem stressed out, and when I end up finding out, technically, even if you're a higher IQ, if you start working for a corporation, if you're in debt with college or university loans, you cannot take the luxury to like keep looking for job to job, because even in this town there's a lot of competition. It's not very big. It's not a diverse economy. It's not like you can just look for something else and be able to pay your bills and your loans. You're gonna have to stick to whatever you're good at and pays well. So what I end up hearing is they're so stressed out because they have to do a lot of the work for other screw ups, but these screw ups are already there for a long time, or they have more leverage, and your IQ is not going to get you on top. It's not going to make you escalate the ladder. It's already pre-designed. You're just hired because you're capable of doing the job. So you're just going to do the other people's work, and you're just going to get compensated with a salary and maybe a retirement fund, and that's pretty much it. And that's probably what's making these guys unhappy, is there's no out of this matrix. Like there's people saying that you can, but these are all grifters. These are not even real wisdom individuals. They're just trying to sell you a false reality, which is pretty much how this world is designed. It's just false realities, false myths. And second of all, are they really happy because they're married? Because, as a guy that went MGTOW, I started to look at different ways of marriage, having a family. Is one, when you have when you get married, you got to make sure your wife is happy with you. Make sure she's guaranteed or satisfied, whatever you want to call it. Because obviously you're going to be working a lot. If you don't spend time with your wife or girlfriend, she's going to leave you whether you like it or not. That's a real reality. Second of all, once you have kids, you lose all your freedom, your mental freedom as well. It's going to be very hard to treat yourself or dedicate time for yourself, because you can't be selfish. You have to be the provider. You have to work. You have to make sure you're a good father. A lot of responsibilities. And second of all, depending how you want to raise them or any values you want them to, to inherit, they can be manipulated. And then if your wife or girlfriend, however it is, 'cause I don't know if they're married or not, I can't make that assumption. If she ends up disliking you for other reasons or whatever, she can use kids as a leverage to put them against you or bring you against. They can do a lot of things, and that's a big stress. That's a mental breakdown, and that's probably what can cause a lot of the issues and their unhappiness. Like I said, they don't look fulfilled anymore. In third, you don't, once you get married, once you have kids, I think you kind of lose your freedom for a long time or maybe forever, because obviously once you realize your kids are gone, they're 18 or 19, depending on the time they leave, your life has already went by. Yes, you worked. You might have to just really depend on how much effort you put into your retirement fund, and And a lot of the time, these guys end up becoming alcoholics because a lot of professionals who are about to retire, a lot of them are going through divorces, their kids are gone, and they don't have nothing else to look forward to because they didn't know how to really value their mental freedom or other things that they could have. That's something that I really agree with the beta male and Batman and Beyond. Shout outs to both of them. Is it all worth it? Your freedom. Because these guys are repeating the cycles of the older boomers here. Divorce, your kids are gone, they're in different states because sometimes, they were lucky to have better education. But, that's something for you guys to think about. I can't make that assumption anymore because I don't see myself getting married, and I can't really give you more inside detail because I never made it that far. And it kind of sounds weird, It's like I'm not an expert in marriage, but obviously that's something I started to realize. I did a lot of critical thinking. And the third thing that kind of made me more sad about the conclusion from the first theory is one of the main reasons probably a lot of people can't make it in other cities or other parts of the United States that are considered like the dream city of a lot of people. So I always wanted to move to this particular city in Texas, which I'm not going to name it because I don't know if I'm not trying to expose myself too much in case one of my friends ever discovers this channel. And I'm not saying I don't doubt their capabilities. Some of my friends are pretty intelligent. I'm not gonna lie. But it depends who are your mentors, your teachers, your education system. Who knows if your education system of this particular town is good enough for other states or other cities. But I always started to question something. What is it that a lot of people that I know that tried to move out and they didn't, they end up returning back? Well, everybody says comfort zone. Maybe they miss their families. Maybe they miss where they grew up with. Okay, that is true. But a lot of the times I started to, I asked a lot of these dudes that I went to high school with, why did you came back to this, boring town? Or what made you want to come back to this, like, typical mediocre town or state, whatever? So I couldn't do it, man. It was expensive, this and that. And I get it. These cities are expensive, but now with this inflation. But this is before the inflation, before the economy started to go down the hill pretty rapidly. It all comes to, what if we're not fully there? Like, what if we're like, we can do okay in a lot of tasks, but maybe we're not as same quality as other cities. Because I've seen other people's work from different states, and they kind of mug us. And I started to realize, what if we're not, the best? And that's why a lot of us cannot make it out of here. Even if you have a profession. Like I said, the higher IQs end up staying in this town. They never moved out. Max, that where they have moved out is other towns of the state, but they could never make it out of the state. So that tells me maybe we're not good enough. We're probably not going to be able to make it out there. It's more competition. We don't have any connections in a new city. Unless if you're like recommended by a very big corporate, but most of the time it's undoubtable. So that's something I started to realize. What if like that's my destination too? I can't make it out of here. And one last thing that I realized is, what if there's nothing that we can really do about it? We just have to really be happy with what we got and not just do the best we can, not put a lot of stress, and be realistic, man. That's fine. Even if I have an opportunity, I don't want to get married. I don't want to have any kids. I don't want that stress. I don't want to have my money drained. So things like that is starting to make me realize, I don't know, this is just a couple of Blackpill realities that I've started to digest for this week. I'm not sad about it. I'm not mad. I'm just trying to, I'm just trying to see what is reality, what is not, what is myth, non-fiction to fiction. I'm just trying to figure out things. So I don't know if you guys have the same similar point of views. If you guys recognize these patterns, I don't know. Let me know in the comment section. I do fully appreciate you guys commenting because it makes it a little bit more motivating for me to make more videos. I'm trying to improve each day. I'm trying to articulate better. It took a lot of courage to, make these videos. But I don't know if this video makes sense or not, but that's something I started to notice for little by little. And alright guys, so you guys have a wonderful weekend. You guys stay safe, stay strong, and be happy with yourselves. Peace out.